Hello everyone and welcome to this month's episode of the Alpha Live podcast. It's a brand new episode and it's a club special. Get your comments in, get your likes in as well. We'd love to know what you have to think about the new podcasts that are coming out. Any guests that you'd like joining us, and of course you are enjoying it, get it shared out and get those likes out as well. Our three guests on this episode, we've got John Munro from the Traction.gg team. We've got Jack Dwane from the Clio Sport Championship, also Clio Sport champion himself as well. And Richard Morris, one of the British drivers who is racing in the Revolution cars as a works driver and also the creator of the Racing Pride movement. We'll start with our first guest this month on the Alpha Live podcast. It's John Munro from the Traction.gg YouTube channel. And John, welcome to the Alpha Live podcast. Firstly, how are we today?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I'm really good, thank you. Yeah, I've kind of taken a little bit of time out of my work day. I'm in the main studio here at Traction HQ, so yeah, looking forward to a little chat about all things racing, really.
Well, yeah, excellent. That is why we're here. Of course, it is all about racing. You know yourself. You're an avid sim racer. You've come into the world of club racing as well in the 750 Motor Club, sort of enduro club championship sort of thing. You're racing the MX-5s in the beautiful Traction.gg liveries. I have to say, it looks absolutely fantastic. Tell us how that's going so far this year.
It's been okay, yeah. We went into the season a little bit unsure because we were struggling a bit for pace last year. We had a few issues with the performance of the car in a straight line, but the TWP team worked really hard in the off season to get the cars prepared and running well. We've obviously got the traction liveries on those cars as well now, which gives us that extra bit of motivation on my side at least. So to be honest, it's been going well. We had a good run at Donington. I think we were pretty much fighting for the lead of the race until we suffered a mechanical issue with the suspension, so that put us out. But Croft was far better, and we led most of the race, to be honest, until we got past quite late on. So it's been a good season so far. There's still a little bit of way to go in terms of outright speed, but yeah, I think we've got a good car underneath us. We know it's a reliable car when everything's running well. So yeah, things are looking good for the second half. There's definitely still more to come, but generally feeling pretty good.
Nice. But again, it must be frustrating in terms of, in club racing like that, because in sim racing, you can just hit the restart button, yeah, all is well, no mechanical gremlins or anything like that, but then you go out on that track and it's, yeah, anything can play havoc. A 20 pence gasket could break and then all of a sudden it's up in smoke and it all goes wrong. But it sounds like it's gone all right so far, though, this year.
Yeah, I know all about those cheap parts going wrong and causing issues. But no, I mean, I agree. It can be tough not being able to just hit that restart button. But at the same time, that's kind of what makes it so good, because when you're doing Club Enduro, it's obviously a long race. It's not just about outright lap time. And I quite enjoy that as a driver. If we are struggling a little bit for pace for any reason, we're sitting maybe third or fourth place and not having the best race, you can always rely on the fact that something could happen, something could change. You never wish bad things on your opponents, but basically if you're in third or fourth halfway through the race, there's still a good chance you can win that race. So yeah, I actually really enjoy that element of it. It's actually quite refreshing to just be able to focus on what you're doing and kind of let the race come to you rather than having to go out and be absolutely perfect all the time in order to have any chance of a good result.
Yeah, completely different to what it is in like other forms of motorsport as well, because I think that's the good thing about club racing. And I think that's the bit that people kind of miss about club racing is that, yeah, it is kind of just more fun than seriousness with most of that paddock, isn't it?
Yeah, honestly, it's a conversation I've had a lot over the years. Because we could have tried to build as much budget as possible and gone and tried to get into something like touring cars or maybe taking money to GTs, but it's always very, very difficult to raise funds, as everyone's aware. So for me, I just absolutely love being able to do Club Enduro year in, year out. I think it's having motorsport at a more affordable and accessible level for people who don't have millions of pounds to play with. To be honest, the enjoyment becomes a lot higher for me, because you're not so stressed about impressing a certain sponsor or making sure you get that specific result. You're not always kind of searching around for where you can find money. You can actually just go out there and enjoy it in a sustainable fashion. So that's one of the reasons I absolutely love club racing. I'd much rather do 20 or 30 years of club racing than scrabble about for 1 year in a really cool series, but then not be able to race again after that. And that's kind of been a thing for me ever since I started circuit racing, really. It's been an aim of mine to try and race in something that is in some way sustainable for me. So yeah, I have to say that's one of the best things about it.
Yeah, because you've not just this isn't your first time racing on big circuits. You've done it in the past before, and I think predominantly in the MX-5s as well. Am I right in saying?
Yeah, I've kind of gone full circle really, because I was a sprint and hill climber at the start. So my dad always used to do hills and sprints in a single seater. So I jumped in when I was 16, and I managed to win the Scottish Top 10 Sprint Championship in my first year. So that was when we thought, right, let's go and try the circuit racing down south and see what we can make of it. So I went into MX5 sprint racing in the Super Cup. So for me, that was at the time that was like long races and big circuits, and that was almost felt like endurance, because I was used to 30 or 40-second sprints in a single seater. So I kind of went through that phase of racing in MX5s and single make series. So I did Super Cup for a year. It got a little bit expensive, so I ended up having to pull out halfway through the season. But then I moved to Max 5 the next year and won that championship in 2016. So at that point, it was really good. We were fully invested in the Mazdas, but sadly we didn't have the budget to keep going, so we had to sell the car. But then thankfully this whole opportunity with TWP came along just over a year later, and we've been with them ever since. So I've stuck around in a Mazda MX-5 just through pure coincidence, to be honest. But we're now doing endurance racing, doing 2 or 3 hour races. So I've kind of come full circle from sprints and hills to actual endurance racing. So hopefully it's 24-hour racing next, but we'll have to wait and see.
Oh, 24-hour racing. But what were we thinking in 24 hours of racing? Because there's karting 24 hours, obviously car 24 hours, of course. But what are we thinking? I think best one to do is Citroen C1 24-hour at Silverstone. That's the best one. What was it? I think the year I did it was like 99 cars racing, and about like 60 of them finished because the rest of them all rolled on their roofs or something like that.
It was a fun race to watch, because I was watching that broadcast. Yeah, I don't really know, to be honest. I mean, I've done 24-hour sim races before. I've done Race of Remembrance, which is the 10 or 12 hours, and that is honestly a highlight of the year every single year for me. It's so much fun. Obviously, the ultimate dream, if I was being completely unrealistic, would be to go and race at Le Mans or something. But that's not something that is in any way achievable at the moment. So, well, you never know. But being realistic, to be honest, anything I could get my hands on for 24 hours would be good. I love being part of a team when you're racing in endurance racing, because when you actually do well and you're having a successful race, you don't just enjoy it individually. You can actually enjoy it with the team members and your teammates, and you can kind of share in that, and you can kind of egg each other on. So when you win a race, it's not like everyone else is upset because they didn't win. You can actually share that feeling with multiple people. So that's one of the biggest appeals for me, and that's why the idea of doing a 24-hour race is such a good thing.
Every time I do a 24-hour race, I say to myself halfway through it, why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself through that? Why? Again, why? But again, I can understand it. It's such a great thing. Like you just said there, you have the team, everyone around you. It is such a great atmosphere, and that kind of takes over the stresses of sleep deprivement and all of that hunger. Just pure adrenaline takes over, and you just have a wicked time, even though you've been out the cup for probably, I don't know, 5-6 hours, and you've not been racing for a while. So yeah, I can imagine there's ups and downs to it, but everyone, I think, in their lifetime, if you're into racing, should do a 24-hour endurance race.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as you know, Ant, we've done a couple of 24-hour sim races together, and
We have,
both
yeah.
in terms of driving. I've also commentated and driven during events, and just done commentary. So I've done kind of a full range of things. There was one I did. I think there was only 2 of us for most of the race. I think we did 11 or 12 hours of driving each, and one person stepped in for 1 hour in the middle of the night just to give us a break. But there's something very special about it. Like, you do go through the sleep deprivation when you're commentating. You start talking absolute nonsense, especially at 9, 10 in the morning.
I do that anyway.
My words. Yeah, well, I was going to say my words struggle to come out at the best of times. So when it gets to 11 a.m. and you've done 8 hours of driving and 8 hours of chatting rubbish, it becomes very difficult indeed. But yeah, there's something very special about that. Being able to jump out of a car in the dark and then see the daylight coming back in and think, wow, I've been awake for that whole night, and the race is still going, and we've still got 8 hours to go. It's very special.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Traction GG, though, itself, because obviously we talk about the club racing, we're going to talk about racing all day long, but Traction GG, a fairly new sort of YouTube channel that's come through onto it. You've done well, though. You're nearly at 40,000 subscribers on YouTube, so talk us a little bit about the birth of the Traction GG name.
So Traction basically came about as a way of building a racing game community. So what we want to do is build up through our website and YouTube channel, and of course social channels as well. We want to build up a community of people who just love playing racing games. We're trying to get as many people playing them as possible, and it's we tend to we try and cover everything. So we cover sim racing, and we also cover arcade racing games as well. So we try and bring these two clashing communities at the best of times together, and just show them that you can enjoy one thing and you can also enjoy the other, and you don't have to feel guilty about that, and you don't have to send abuse to the other side for not liking the same games as you. and just try and bring some positivity to it as well, because I think, there's a lot of anger in the gaming community at times, and there's a lot of frustrations, and we understand that, because some games can not be as good as people would hope, for example. But at the end of the day, there are so many good things out there, and that there'll be lots of young people that haven't had the chance to actually try them. So we just want to basically go out there and showcase every kind of racing game, and really highlight the great things in the industry, and try and get some younger people as well as older people onto their sim rigs, and into the racing game community, because it's such a cool place to be. It's such a fun thing to do, and it's actually a really nice social thing as well. You make so many friends through it. I've definitely done so over the years as well. So that's kind of the overarching aim of what we're doing at Traction.
Yeah, I mean, you've brought up some really good points there as well, in terms of the frustration behind it, and I don't know, hatred seems like a harsh word to say, but it really is. You get the people who are like dedicated to like things like Forza Motorsport, and you get people who are dedicated like R Factor 2 and things like that, and there is no real in between between the two of them. I love R Factor 2. And I love Forza Motorsport. In fact, Forza Horizon. I play Forza Horizon all the time. I love it because it's such a good laugh. You get on there, you get on your voice chat with your mates, grab some beers, and play some racing games. And it's, I just feel like, where is all that sort of come from? That I don't know, the hatred that people have between each other. It's really strange. But like you say, with the Traction YouTube, I feel like, that's an excellent idea to do. Just trying to bring the community together with a bit of everything, with the arcade and the sim racing games as well. But then also the reviews on stuff as well, like the new Thrustmaster steering wheels, anything from Fanatec coming through as well. That's always good, because the one thing that I'm always in the market for is a new steering wheel. And if one comes around and I want to know a little bit more about it, I always go to YouTube. So, it's one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the main things that Traction tries to be is we try to cover as much as possible. And our editorial team, especially on the website side, our lead editor, Tom, is just absolutely phenomenal. He never stops working, but he will go out of his way to cover absolutely everything. So, you can be sure that if there's new hardware coming out and we can get our hands on it, we will do. And we'll get a review. We've also got Rich, also on the video team, who does a lot of the hardware stuff. I try and also do some educational stuff on the software side. So I'll try and help people get up to speed with their sim racing, and maybe do track guides and how to trail brake, how to overtake properly, stuff like that. So it's it's a mixture of everything. So as you say, it's a great place to go if you're just looking for any kind of information about sim racing, if you want to improve. But the main thing is really that if you keep an eye on the website, we do never really miss anything important. So if there is a game coming out, I can guarantee you that Traction will be covering it. And if you want to, if there's any big releases in the next few weeks that you want to learn about, you want to know if the game's any better than it was the last year, or if there are any new features, the nice thing is you can jump on the website and there will absolutely be all of the information you need. So it's been so much fun, really, building that, and just seeing everyone grow into what Traction is, and actually understanding what we're trying to do. And it's a lovely thing to be part of, especially for me, since I've kind of been in it since right at the start, which has been great. So to see that growth, to see obviously I've been improving my own technical skills as well with the video making, and it's just fantastic.
Yeah, it's never an easy thing to run a YouTube channel. A lot of people obviously do try, and we encourage people to try it as well, because you can grab a camera, start talking to it, and start making content. Yeah, very easy thing to do. But then really getting into the nitty gritty side of things, there is a lot to do in terms of managing it. And it's not just videos that you're making as well; live streams as well. Like you broadcast some of the Formula challenges. You had the Donington Park Formula Challenge as well, the Formula Pro Challenge that you had recently. That was quite good, and I love those cars as well, because they all sound like the classic F1, like the classic screaming V10s, isn't it?
Yeah, they are incredible, and we get to enjoy them every week at the moment, because we've got Formula Challenge one week and then Formula Pro the other week, which you can probably see on the background behind me.
Yeah.
So I'm actually sitting in the studio where we do our commentary for that as well. And yeah, we also cover esports and all the esports news on there as well. We broadcast a lot of official esports events, especially the R Factor 2 stuff. So we have the coverage of the Virtual Le Mans series. Got to go to Paris last year and be part of that event, which was absolutely incredible. Just absolutely phenomenal thing. So we get to do so much. There's also a Twitch channel as well. We've got streamers over there. As I say, I'm kind of focused on the YouTube side, but I mean, the nice thing about making these kind of videos is, yes, we're very fortunate, and we've got a lot of good people. We've got a lot of great equipment, and the budget to be able to go and make videos with high quality cameras and studios and stuff like we are now. But you can actually just pick this stuff up at home. You can pick up budget versions of cameras. you can set up your room however you like it, and you can start making your own videos. So it's something that, even though we've got, we're in a great position to make as good as possible, anyone can do. And hopefully, people watching our videos, some of them have been inspired to go and make their own videos, because again, it's just sharing that enjoyment of gaming with other people.
In terms of the videos that you've created so far, because there's quite a few, go on, what's the favorite? What's the favorite out there?
Oh, I quite like, I'm a massive motorsport fan. So for me, the core enjoyment about traction isn't, there's gaming and there's motorsport, right? And we have some people that love their gaming and love games, but are maybe not so clued up on motorsport. And there's other people that love their motorsport, and gaming is a byproduct of that. And I'm kind of more on that end. So I've come from the racing side of things, which is why I've gotten into sim racing, because I wanted to go real life racing, and ended up loving both. So for me, I really love the projects where I can sit down and write a story about real racing and link it to gaming. So I did one where I talked about old rally cars that are in Art of Rally, which is a fantastic, visually beautiful game created by an indie developer, June. And I kind of looked at some of the old classic rally cars that he'd put in the game that lots of people have forgotten about, and did a little video about everything that, the story of these cars basically, and telling it through video games. And did something similar recently with Le Mans as well. I'm going through the Le Mans 24-hour and the history of the event, and also looking at some of the cars that have made their way onto the video games as well. So I really enjoy those things. We've also had a few kind of Top Gear style challenges where we've had big races on Euro Truck Simulator. They definitely don't do very well in terms of views, but for us filming them, they're huge amounts of fun. And obviously, that's one of the important things when we're making videos. It's not just about what's going to get the clicks. It's, we want to enjoy what we're doing, and try and bring something that people really enjoy. So I'd say those are probably my favorite ones. The big races and the passion projects about real motorsport.
No, brilliant stuff. That sounds absolutely fantastic. Well, John, thank you so much for taking your time out your busy schedule to chat to us today. Where are we next in terms of real racing? I think 750 Club Enduro, their next one is Spa, I think. They're heading overseas.
Yeah, so I'm taking a bit of holiday next week. We're gonna head over to Spa, and racing on Thursday and the Friday, and gonna turn it into a little bit of a family holiday as well. We've got family coming over, so very excited for that. Last time we were at Spa, we won the race from the back of the grid as well. So hopefully we can repeat stuff this year, but we'll have to wait and see.
Well, we'll wish you the best of luck with that one, and John Munro, thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Let's move on now to the news segment of the podcast, and a lot has happened over this last few weeks, and I have to say we're going to kickstart with the British Grand Prix, because obviously that race itself was, probably one of the best races I think I've ever seen in terms of F1 in the modern era, I have to say. So I just want to say a huge congratulations to the new upgrades to the cars and everything like that, making them much closer to race with, because again, it just shows that that's worked really, and it has been a fantastic race and a fantastic season so far, so I am looking for the rest of it. But I do want to kickstart obviously with the first corner incident at the start of the race. Jack Dwane, who had that horrific accident at the start of the British Grand Prix. There's lots of photos circulating of that incident, and obviously lots of footage circulating of that incident as well. But there was one specifically that comes to mind. It's this one. Jack Dwane is completely trapped in that car. He's completely trapped in that car. A lot of people are calling out that it's the halo that's trapping him, and in a way it is slightly. There's no fault in that. It is. But it's the barrier, that little gap there. And that gap is a marshal run. It's to allow marshals to get to incidents and for photographers to take unobstructed photos as well. And obviously that photo was taken by a photographer who had to run out the way, Ben Stansall, I should say, and he had to dive out of the way, and then he turned around and then took that photo. When you really see from that how trapped the driver is. And I just want to stress at this point that if that car had caught fire, heaven forbid, but if it had, we might not have been talking to Jack Dwane at the end of that Grand Prix, which is a huge shock, and I think to a lot of people. And I think the last crash that really shook me when I watched it live was Romain Grosjean at Bahrain at the end of 2021. That crash where the car caught fire, and I've never said it before, but I thought we were going to see a fatality in that one as well. And it was so lucky that he got out. But seeing that image he wouldn't have gone out of that at all. So I think it's brought up a huge question mark in circuit safety and circuit design as well, that I feel like either the big Armco barriers or the big catch fencing barriers need to be either on top of the Armco, or there needs to be a much larger gap between the barriers and the catch fencing. I feel like that needs to happen, and it needs to happen quickly, and that's going to be I'm not going to lie, that's going to be a huge job for circuits, and in some places circuits don't have the space for things like that. So is that going to mean new circuit designs? Is that going to mean things that are going to happen? But that photo that really that caught my attention on that one, because you see Jack Dwane's head there just in the cockpit. He can't do anything. He's got to wait, and like you say, if the fuel cell had ruptured, it'd have been a completely different story. And yeah, it is a shocking one to see there, and a lot of people are blaming the halo for it. And again, I can understand in a way, if it didn't have a halo there may have been a little bit more space to get out, but there is no doubting the halo's credentials. It's the best thing that's happened to Formula Racing since sliced bread. So it is what it is. And to back that up, of course, Formula 2 saw that incident as well, going out of Vale into the club chicane as well. Roy Nissany and Dennis Hauger, an absolutely horrific incident, but saved by a 2-kilogram piece of metal on top of the chassis, that saved Roy Nissany's life, and undoubtedly. So, you can't blame the halo. The halo is there. It will remain. It will never change. It might be improved over the years, but it's there, and it is what it is. But it has its benefits, but I feel like it also has its downsides. But it is what it is. And let us know what you think in the comments. If you think it's a benefit to the cars, let us in. If you disagree with that, if you think no, you hate the halo, you think you shouldn't be there, let us know your opinion. Let us know in the comments before. But then, again, everyone for that Formula 2, I want to take back to that Formula 2 crash, because again, everyone was talking about the halo again as saving the life. Yes, it was, but what caused that main incident to happen? Yes, Dennis Hauger went off the track and couldn't stop, but the sausage curb on the inside of Club Corner forced that car to go up in the air and then hit Roy Nissany at head height. Now, if that sausage curb wasn't there, it would have just gone into the side. It would have been a horrible crash still, but it wouldn't have gone airborne. He only went airborne because of that sausage curb. And it's not the first time we've seen incidents from sausage curbs, and we've seen injuries from sausage curbs. Abby Eaton at COTA, she severely damaged a spine at COTA, with a compression fracture in the spine. And you've got to think back to, as well, Alex Peroni in Formula 3 at Monza. That a huge incident caused by a sausage curb. So the design of the sausage curb and the placement of them, I think, is incredibly important, and I think there are some that are just in the wrong places or unnecessary, and I think the whole thing is unnecessary. I think they don't need to exist. People would argue that they're there to stop people from cutting corners, but again, if a driver cuts a corner, you give them a time penalty. It's that simple. You don't need to put a physical object there to stop them from doing it that causes them to go airborne and that causes horrific accidents. So I think that maybe there needs to be a rectification of that. Who knows what can happen, really? But again, let us know in the comments. Do you agree or disagree with the use of sausage curbs, and do you think they should be completely scrapped? And you think the FIA on circuits need to come up with better ideas? But do let us know, and let us know your opinions on that one. But I'd love to talk a little bit more about all of that, but I think it is what it is. And who do you think was at fault at turn 1? Because I personally, and I hate to say this because I think he's an absolute legend, I think it was George Russell. I think it was George Russell at fault on that one, and I hate to say it. A lot of people thinking Pierre Gasly was at fault on that one, but it's a very tough incident on that one. But again, let us know who you think. Let us know in the comments. We'll have a chat about that maybe on the next one or in another video as well. But I think enough news. We'll head on now. Next guest is coming up next. On to our second guest now, Jack Dwane, who joins us from the world of Clio racing, I suspect, because you've raced nearly everything in Clios, haven't you, Jack? And you've had a fantastic career so far and a fantastic season so far. You've had a pretty good run at Croft. I think it was second in both rounds. You had a pretty good running.
Yeah.
You had at Silverstone, what was it, first in class, and Pembrey as well. So, you're not too shabby when it comes to racing Clios, are you?
No, we've been driving Clios for a long time, probably like the last 5 or 6 years, just track daying and the odd rounds here and there. So quite a few of my friends have got them as well, which is why I got one. And they're just a good car, aren't they, all round really, to have a lot of fun in. And then when we got bored of track days, thought we might race it as well, which is how it started really.
Yeah, they are good little cars to drive, aren't they? But one thing you've always got to watch out for is that little bit of lift-off oversteer, isn't it? You've got to watch out for that, because that can cause havoc with it. And you're giggling. So is that any experiences with lift-off oversteer that you've had then?
Well, my setup on my car's sort of set up to do that within a certain degree, so it's not something I worry about too much. I quite like it to rotate on the back, but not. It's tricky because you need a fair amount of it, but you don't want it doing it when you're not expecting it. So I try to set it up to do it when I'd like it to, but it's not always the case. Like you said, it can catch you out sometimes.
There we go. Well, that's Clio's for you in a nutshell, really, isn't it? Jack, let's talk a little bit about how your career kind of started in motorsport, because we can have a conversation about many things that go on, because, you've got people who start their careers out in karting from a very young age, come up the ranks and then go into that. But that's not the case with yourself?
No, I did do some karting, but only just messing around when I was younger. I started on motorbikes. Did a lot of motorbikes when I was younger, and then got too many injuries and ended up breaking bones and just sort of stopped to break my leg quite badly. So I bought a go-kart when I was about 16 and used to go to the PFI track, which isn't too far from where we live. So I just used to go out there on a Saturday and just mess about really. Didn't really know what we'd do, but I had a lot of fun.
Now, in terms of what kart was it? We've got to know. Rotax?
Oh, God.
Go on, we'll pick your brains now. What was it? It was blue. Excellent. Well, it was blue. It was a blue one.
Yeah, I think it's BR or something like that.
Was it two-stroke?
Rotax, yeah. Rotax,
it was Rotax, okay, but it was a blue. Yeah, it was a blue Rotax, right? Okay, that narrows it down to about 1,000 karts that are currently running in the UK. But yeah, there we go. Well, that's something at least. But I'm guessing if you were 16, did you go for a senior Rotax engine though?
I think so. It was fast. That's all I know.
It was
when I drove it. Yeah.
There we go. It was fast. It was rear-wheel drive, and then you went from that, and then it was sort of track days. So, track days, I think they're quite a little fun thing to do. And obviously, you were saying to myself there that you started out with a bit of track days, you got bored of them, and then you thought racing side of it. What really kind of triggered to go racing? Did you just have you were thinking, were you competitive on track days? You thought, this car's quite quick around here. I think I'd like to see how I can compare against others.
I think so. Yeah, I think when you start going track day with your friends, obviously you all end up having a little race, especially towards the end of the day when the tracks.
Sure, the tracks love that. Sure, the tracks.
But you obviously get told off as well, don't you? You get all of 2 laps before you're told that's enough now, lads. So yeah, I don't know. I'd always fancied racing the Clios. I'd seen that K-Tech Championship when it was released, but couldn't afford to do it 6-7 years ago. I started the car I got that was track day, and it had already been raced, so it was race ready. So we did some classic sports car club tin tops.
Okay, yeah.
I think that was what the series was called. Did 3 or 4 rounds of that, but the races were too long for the car. It kept breaking down towards the end, and the tuning side of it, you couldn't really get any more out of it, and it still wasn't that competitive with the other cars in it. So I wanted a single make series, because you sort of just more so it was even, and it's more about the driving then. For me anyway. So it's not about who's got the fastest engine, and so that was why we moved to the K-Tech ones.
Yeah, and like I say, well, you did well in that one, didn't you? Because 2021 champion, and an absolutely fantastic result.
We sort of had some good results straight away, which wasn't expected. You sort of expect to be mid-pack. So sort of halfway through the season, I thought, actually, we might be on with a shout at this, providing everything goes to plan. But it got tough towards the end. I was up against Kingsbury, who was very, very quick, and he'd been doing it a while. And he knew a few tricks that we didn't as well. So it did go down to the final round, which was quite exciting. But yeah, it was tough, but sort of unexpected as well, if you know what I mean.
What about the step up to 197s? What about that?
I think the 197 is a great car, and K-Tech have done a really good job with it. Obviously, it's I didn't think it was going to be as fast as it is. I just thought the 182s would be quicker. I thought it'd take them a while to get them developed, especially the extra weight. But that hasn't been the case. They were quick at Croft straight out of the box, and obviously now they've all got a little bit more of an idea about what they can do with them and how far they can push them so far. They've been sort of a different league altogether, which is slightly annoying, but it's good, I suppose, for the championship. It's a good direction for them to go in. Not sure whether I'll get one yet. I'm going to wait and see what they do, trying to level them up, because if they're going to make them closer, there wouldn't be a lot of point in getting one. But I'm just going to see how the year goes first and concentrate on the 182s.
I think that's the one thing in club racing, is it? And it's the one thing for club race organisers as well, is that they want to make a championship that is affordable but can be so regulated that it is close racing as well. Because you do see it in club racing all the time. There is one car that just absolutely dominates it, and then everyone else is kind of separates out in the sort of mid-pack area. There's not really any racing, is there? So I think that's one thing they're trying to do. And I think, it's getting it from a sort of driver's point of view, that kind of just shows that, you don't want to get one yet because of that reason. So, maybe that's maybe a wake-up call to some organisers, to say that, okay, maybe we do need to sort something out. I think that's kind of a crucial thing behind it. But like you say, but with your racing, you are fast out there. You can win races. We know this. So, that is one thing. And apparently it's dangerous for your mechanics when you win races, because apparently you like to push them over when you win.
Yeah, we did sort of lose his feet, didn't he, towards the end at Snetterton at the end? Yeah, he did. I just clicked on what you meant there.
Yes, there we go. Yeah, winning the car. What was it? You jumped out the car. He was setting up the P1 on the board and everything like that.
He was off balance though when I sort of got to him, so he didn't take much of a good gust of wind to blow him over, but it just caught him at the wrong time.
Who was that? Give him a shout out. Go on.
It was Joel. It was my best friend Joel. He looks after my car while we're there at the weekends. So, but we both really wanted it. He was as much a part of it as I was, as well as everybody else that helped. And he's on the pit wall and just there all weekend. Do you know what I mean? So for him, it was quite a big deal as well, which was why it was nice when we'd finally got it, because we'd spoke about it the night before, thinking, it's got to happen tomorrow because of the way the points had fallen. But we were quite chuffed with what we'd done anyway, if we was going to get a second. But seeing as a one was on the cards, we thought, well, we might as well go for it. I'd got nothing to lose. I think Kingsbury had got everything to lose because he'd been close to winning it before.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he was a bit more, probably driving a little bit more sensible, whereas we could just go at it. And if I spun off, it didn't really matter because we'd got second anyway. So that was probably why the driving was slightly harder than it would have been if I was sort of going to lose it as such, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and there is that sort of different style of club racer as well, isn't there? Because you'll get the aggressive types out there who are really want to win. They'll push the car to its limits, all of that. But then you'll get the kind of the soft driver type sort of thing. Like they're there to have fun. They're there to enjoy the track. They're there to have enjoy the racing. And you've just got to try and get round them at any sort of point that you can. There was always those different level of club races. But, when you can find a club level championship that can put all the quick drivers in together, that's the sort of one that everyone wants to be a part of. I mean, would you say that the K-Tech championship is kind of like that at the moment?
I mean, there's a lot of fast drivers in it. I've said this to many in the paddock before. I don't particularly do anything that nobody else can do. I haven't got a secret ingredient as to why we're quick and why we win, because the lap times that I put in are very, very, very similar to probably 10 other drivers. It's just the way we've finished races and collected points is why we won it the first time round, against drivers that have been doing it a few seasons before. But because it's so tight, if you don't get away at the start and you sort of get boxed in or you're in the mid-pack, the lap times aren't quick enough from cars behind to catch you, because we're all doing the same sort of time. So if you can get a 2-3 second gap in the first corner, which is quite easy when the midfield sort of back each other up, all you've got to do is maintain it through the race and just put your laps in nice and clean and consistently. So there's a lot of quick drivers in the K-Techs. There was last year, and I think there has been in years prior before we joined.
But again, talk us about it, because for people who want to get into racing, especially club racing, they look at all the champions that are out there and they can see that, there are so many clubs out there, but it's choosing the right one and choosing what car you want to race in. When it came to choosing the Clios, obviously you're a big fan of the Clios, everything like that, but what was the story behind getting the car in the first place? Because was it an eBay job? Was it a complete road car and you all worked on it together?
I'd done around. I was at Donington at the time, and my car that I was racing had broken down again, which something very silly, but it was just annoying because it was the third time round. This is really starting to bug me a little bit because obviously come here to enjoy it and starting to not enjoy it. And I had to walk from the other side of Donington Park all the way back round to where the pits are, and it took me about 30 minutes.
Yes, a lot.
The duration of the race. I was just thinking to myself, I feel like changing, but I couldn't really think what to. So I popped on eBay and put in a K-Tech Clio 182 to see if there's any about. So that's quite what I'd like to do. And Don, the graphs car, was on there, so I gave him a call as soon as I got back to my mobile in the caravan. I was in a little motorhome at the time.
But you hadn't even left the track before you got on Google.
Sorry?
Yeah, you hadn't even left the track before you went on Google on eBay.
No, I arranged to go and buy it on the Tuesday. This was on Saturday, so I'll be down on the Tuesday, and I'll be bringing that back with me if it's what you say it is. And it was a real nice guy, Don is, and he sold me a very good car, which helped last year, to be fair.
So it was already kind of race prepped for you. You didn't really have to do much to it, or was there much work to
do
to it?
it was ready to go. He'd not long been sort of racing it himself. I think he'd had it out probably a month or two prior. Gave me a lot of information about it and little setup tricks that I would have had to spend last year learning. So I got a very good head start going into the championship with info and a little bit of data and things like that from Don. And then put sort of my experience behind the wheel to that, what he told me, and changed a few things because his setup wasn't quite what I liked, but the fundamentals of it were there, and got stuck in. But I did the last round in 2020 at Donington, and finished dead last in the first race. And I thought, oh god, this is very competitive. This is probably bitten off a little bit more than we can chew. But had a good weekend and learnt a lot about it. And then sort of did some testing and practicing over the winter, ready for the 2021 season, and turned up and just thought we'll see where we fare. And I think qualified pole at Cadwell, which was the first round, and then it was sort of this is a bit of a change around because we finished last at the last time we got this car out. So I didn't know if I'd had a lucky lap or something like that, but that pace sort of continued through the year and it just worked out. Didn't do too much to the car, didn't change too much, and enjoyed it. I was really enjoying it last year, which was the main thing. And then the results just made everything a little bit better. Yeah,
Cadwell's a tricky circuit as well. So to be quick there, because that's a narrow circuit. It's mainly famous for its bike racing, but to race Clios around there and then to put it fastest as well. So something must have gone right then.
Well, I think so. I mean, I wasn't on for a pole lap for like 3 or 4 laps, and then I just got it right. I saw my delta was up slightly, and I thought, oh, this is quite handy. But I still wasn't sure where I was going to fare. I just knew it was a quick lap because I knew what a good lap round there was. And then it was by the skin of my teeth. I think I got all the way by 0.000001, something like that. A lot of zeros.
A lot of zeros in it.
But it was key around there because obviously it's very tight. So there's not a lot of overtaking opportunities. So that weekend set us up for a good start.
And I can imagine that's, like you say, a nice feeling. And, when you say, I'll go back a little bit to it, but, when you're saying that you're buying the car from Dom, I think you said it was, but, it's nice to see that the community in club racing is still so friendly and so close because, to give you, to let you have the car and helping you with the setup and showing you the data and things like that, a lot of other people would be, no, there's the car, go, sort of thing. I'm not sharing any of my data with you or anything like that. And, when you get into professional motorsport and it is all hush-hush, no, you can't tell them that, no, don't tell them what tyre pressures we're running or anything like this. And it's just like, you go to a club racing paddock and it's just, what tyre pressure are you running? Oh, we're on this. So, they'll just kind of tell you. And I think that's the nice thing about club racing.
It is, it is nice. And I had many phone calls with Don sort of during last year as well, just would you do this? Would you do that? What did you do here? What did you do there? So that helped, as well as I did get help out the paddock until we sort of started to get to the front, and then obviously guys that I'm friends with now, we didn't know them last year, so it was a little bit hush hush. So we're not going to tell you anything. You seem to be going quite well anyway, which that sort of stopped as we became friends with people. Everybody started opening up a little bit more, but you'd ask some people some things and they say, "Well, we don't need to tell you because you're in front of me," which wasn't the answer I wanted. I was asking because I needed to know. But there's a lot of good guys in that Clio grid now, and some new guys this year, which are a lot of fun. And I think there's a lot of similar characters doing it this season, which has made it quite enjoyable and not so much pressure.
Jack, we're vastly running out of time here, so we'll quickly ask a couple of things. One, favourite UK circuit. Everyone has a favourite UK circuit. Where are you next racing, and what can we expect to see you at that next track?
I think Donington's probably my favourite UK circuit.
Good choice.
We are at Donington next as well.
Well, there you go.
Which should be, I'm quite looking forward to. I do like Croft though as well. That is a good circuit. But
it's a quick track, Croft, isn't it?
What was your last question?
What we expecting to see from it? Are we expecting front running again? Because obviously you were saying Donington Park. It's a long walk back from the top end of that circuit to back to the paddock, isn't it?
It'll be. I don't think it'll be front running because obviously there's a lot of 197s on the grid now, which has pushed the 182s further down. So we'll be trying to win the 182s or at least gain as many points as we can for the 182 championship, because that's what I'd like to retain this year. If we can get amongst the 197s, I'll be amongst them. I won't be following them around, but it'll be tricky because they're quick.
Exactly. Send it down the inside. That's what you got to do. Always send it down the inside. If there's a gap, go for it. If you're not going for gaps, you're no longer a racing driver. Famous quote there, ladies and gentlemen. But there we go. Well, Jack, thank you very much for taking your time out your busy day to chat to us. Best of luck at Donington Park, and all the best for the rest of the 2022 season.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Our next guest on the Alpha Live podcast this month is British racing driver Richard Morris, driver who's currently working as one of the works drivers for the Revolution Racecars, competing in the European Sports Prototype Cup. Richard is also the creator of the Racing Pride movement. Richard, welcome to the show. How are we today?
Hi, yeah, great to join you. I'm feeling good today.
Excellent stuff. It's been a busy weekend that we've just had, of course, British Formula One, Pride Month itself as well, and you know yourself, a very busy driver as well. Talk us, how's this month been so far for you?
Yeah, I mean, well, June was incredibly busy, and I think July will be similar. But yeah, June especially, lots going on. I had a race at Silverstone with Revolution. Picked up a couple of second place podium finishes, had some fun battles with British Olympian Chris Hoy, Sir Chris Hoy, as I should call him, of course. Not round the garage, though. He's not that kind of person. Also a former LMP2 driver, so very talented. But yeah, enjoyed scrapping away with him, and, you know, didn't think in 2012 I'd be standing on a podium with him, and particularly with me on the highest step of it. But there we go. And I'm looking forward to racing again with Revolution at Spa in just over a week's time. And Pride Month as a whole was just incredible. Racing Pride working with 3 Formula One teams, full partnerships with Alpine F1 announced newly this month, continuing our partnership with Aston Martin F1. And I also gave a talk at Williams F1 at Grove. So yeah, lots of stuff going on.
You've been around then, haven't you? And of course, yeah, very busy weekend with the Silverstone Grand Prix that's obviously just happened over the weekend. And yourself with Revolution Racing, Silverstone, a fantastic race that you just had in that one. Spa coming up though. Spa, I think the 15th and 17th of this month, I believe it is, that weekend. Spa's a fantastic circuit. Have you raced there before?
It is. I mean, I haven't. I've been to spectate there, and I have, you know, always wanted to race there. When I was last spectating there, I said to someone like, oh, this would be my dream to race here. And they said, don't worry, one day you'll be back racing here. And I thought, yeah, right. But turns out it's happening. So ever since I saw the calendar, I was super excited to go to Spa.
It's happening, and it's happening in a pretty decent car as well. The Revolution Racecars are not slow. They are fast prototype-style cars. And, to race one of those around Spa, that's a great achievement in itself. And it not just being a track day in a Clio or something, even though that would still be pretty fun, I think. So, but yeah, no, what an achievement for yourself.
Yeah, I mean the Revolution car is fantastic. It's taken a big step forward this year as well. So towards the end of last year, Phil Abbott phoned me up and said, "Would you be interested in getting on board with this Revolution project?" And
Yes.
one of the things that really convinced me, well, I mean, firstly, of course, Phil Abbott, who designed a lot of the radical cars, was responsible for the success of them. It's really hard to say no to him anyway. But the clincher was him saying they were developing this new supercharged 500 plus brake horsepower version of the car. And I thought, well, that sounds incredible.
Got the hairs on the back of your neck standing up when you heard that, and just think, oh yeah, I think I want to get a piece of that. So yeah, I think the offer was there. I think taking it was probably a good call. But talk us about the season so far, because we're about midway through your season, aren't we, in the Revolution Cup?
Yeah, so I mean, actually, I think because we wanted to develop the car so much, we sort of waited a little bit to get into racing. We did a fair bit of testing towards the end of the winter, then started off with racing at Zandvoort a couple of months ago, combined in with the Dutch Supercar Challenge, which is like the British GT equivalent in the Netherlands. And it has a prototype section at the front of it, which is obviously great fun, as well as a lot of GT3 cars. So it was a really busy track. I think there were about 40 odd cars on the grid. And Zandvoort, of course, is mega with all the banking, and, nothing at Zandvoort is a straight line. It's always bumpy. Right. And it was a really exciting track, and managed to kick off my season with pole position in qualifying and a feature race win as well. So I think that was great. And it was important for Revolution as well to prove the car is above GT3 pace, and to be able to drive away from those cars. So yeah, my first time ever at that track as well. I'm having to do a lot of learning of circuits. Silverstone, of course, track I do know.
Yes.
But it's always mega to race on the Grand Prix circuit there. It has so much of the heritage around it. And yeah, so far I'm 4 podiums from 4 races, a win, 2 seconds and a third. So hopefully, I would love to stand on the top step at Spa, but hopefully we can keep that run going. And then we've got, some other things coming up after that. I might be doing a little demo in New York at Lime Rock Park,
nice.
Near New York. So that'd be exciting. And we'll have to see whether the calendar goes after that, but more European races coming up in the autumn, I'm sure. Yeah,
for any sim racing fans out there, Lime Rock Park is a favourite, I think, for many on some platforms of sim racing. So yeah, Lime Rock Park, fantastic circuit.
I'll have to get myself trying it.
There you go, get on it. But again, your success in the Revolution cars has not just come from nothing. You've raced back in 750 Motor Club in, you'll have to correct me on this, what was it, Bike Sports or Sports 1000?
Sports 1000.
Sports 1000.
I was the works driver for Spire Sports Cars, which was enormous fun.
Yes.
I really loved that.
And you had lots of victories there as well, didn't you? I think I specifically remember I was there in the pit lane with you at Silverstone, and a fantastic victory from yourself there.
Oh yeah, I think that might have been actually one of my favourite wins for Spire. So yeah, I mean, Spire's a fantastic car, for what it does. The Sports 1000s, for people who don't know, they are prototypes. They're relatively low downforce. They got a screaming 1000cc bike engine, and they still, they go faster than touring car lap times. They're pretty amazing bits of kit on just semi-slick performance road tyres. So, lots of fun in that series. I'm so grateful to Paul Nightingale, who owns Spire, who gave me that opportunity. I'd been racing in Formula Ford and had just come runner-up and then in class in the National Championship in Formula Ford. And he gave me a chance, said, I've got a car that you could drive. And honestly, it kept me in racing. And I did a couple of years there. As you say, lots of success. That particular day, we'd had an issue in qualifying, and I had to come from the back of the grid in the first race, put myself on the front row for the second race, and then won that one. And so it was probably a very emotional me you were speaking to there, because I didn't think after qualifying you'd be talking to me as a winner that day.
Yeah, you were quite emotional on that one, but again, rightly so. It was a fantastic weekend for yourself, and yeah, it just shows again the talent that you've got as a racing driver, which is brilliant. Now we can talk about racing all day, I'm pretty sure, but I want to talk a little bit more about Racing Pride, because it's an absolutely fantastic movement that you've got going out there, and again, really bringing a lot more diversity into motorsport, which I think is a must. I think.
Yeah, Racing Pride is something that I started to kick around the ideas for in late 2018, and that we launched in mid 2019, June 2019. June is Pride Month for those who don't know. And the idea was just that I hadn't seen many LGBTQ plus people in racing on my way up, or hadn't been consciously aware of many. And that led to a bit of a feeling of isolation and being the only one. And I thought, probably connected to that, it was just a difficult area for people to talk about in motorsport paddocks. The motorsport world wasn't used to discussing LGBTQ plus inclusion like some other areas of society are starting to be. So we wanted to get together some ambassadors in different walks of the sport and in different series and in different roles to be those visible LGBTQ plus people, to let people know that they're not alone, and hopefully to give a positive example of being able to be yourself in the sport and to have lots of success. And as it's evolved, we've also started doing more on the educational front, and starting to work with clubs and series and organizations and teams to help them understand how they can actually create inclusive environments for LGBTQ plus people. So we're now, as of last year, working even up to Formula One. We announced a partnership with Aston Martin Formula One team last June, but have been working with them for some months beforehand. And similarly, the same with Alpine F1 this year. We've done bits and pieces with Williams, as I said. And there we're really looking into, what are their HR policies? If someone wants to transition in the team, what do you do about that? How do you help them? What are things that managers should be aware of? What should we be thinking about on race weekends to keep everyone feeling safe? So it's become really quite an in-depth project, but one that I'm absolutely loving.
Yeah, I can imagine so, because I think a lot of people don't realize that motorsport there are so many elements to it, and there are so many different departments and everything like that. And I think trying to transition for someone into this sort of thing, I can imagine it is quite a challenge. And for yourself to bring out the Racing Pride movement and to really show people that you can do it, you can be done, and we encourage it. It is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I think, also what's been great is seeing the support that there's been in motorsport. I mean, I think there's possibly a knee-jerk reaction when something like this is launched, to see it as a bit of an attack on the present state of the sport, or to see it as a criticism of people in the sport. But actually, the reason that we founded this was a belief that the majority of people in motorsport want to make it accessible, want to be able to share their love for the sport with as many people as possible. And I think the issue was just that the conversation wasn't being had, and that people didn't have a way of showing their support. So, I think broadly speaking, we've been proved right on that one, that Racing Pride has enjoyed a lot of support. And I've certainly felt a lot of love within paddocks and pit lanes for, really just being able to start that conversation and give people a way of showing, actually, we do want to be a forward-looking sport, and we do want to include everyone.
Yeah, because racing now is not just, big race teams with loads of money and it's rich people doing it. There's club racing. There's loads of people coming into it. It's karting. We've got karters in the community. We've got big Formula racers who are in the community as well. So there is a huge diversity of people coming into the sport, and I feel like, this being so open, again, another beautiful thing, and for yourself working so hard with it. It is such an amazing thing. Where's the next steps for it, though? What's the next thing in line for Racing Pride?
Yeah, so Racing Pride has been starting to expand internationally a bit. So we launched in North America as well as here in the UK. We have some initiatives going on in Europe, and certainly as I race in Europe, I'm hoping to I am doing events alongside my racing to bring the LGBTQ plus community together. We had an event alongside the Australian Grand Prix where some of our ambassadors hosted an event at the local Pride Centre by the track. So we're expanding a bit internationally, which I think is really exciting. And we're also trying to reach out into more branches of the sport. So we obviously have our ambassador program, which we kind of review each year, who's going to be ambassadors for us. And we're consciously trying to reach out into more areas of the sport. And this year I'm excited that we brought on a rallycross driver in Bradley Westgarth, which took us beyond sort of circuit racing. I would love for Racing Pride at the same time as expanding at the highest levels of the sport, at the same time as working with Formula One, we have to keep that relationship with the grassroots and with club racing and with karting, because, you know, I felt while I was coming through karting, that was one of the most difficult stages of my career to be out. And I mean, that's partly because I was young, you know, I was coming up through my teenage years, and I'm aware that's a tricky time for people. And so the more support we can give them at that stage, the better. But also, you know, I think it's possibly inevitably true that in more and more professionalized environments, you know, perhaps these topics get a little bit easier within that framework, whereas in sort of grassroots level, perhaps that's where work needs to be done to make sure that everyone is being inclusive and welcoming everyone in, particularly when they're just starting out in the sport. And we want to give the best impression of the sport straight away to people, so that, you know, that talent feels welcome. And as it rises up, you know, people always feel able to be themselves throughout their careers. And that will filter through, of course, into the broader motorsport industry.
Definitely so. And like you say, you hit the nail on the head there when saying, you know, there is a lot of different championships. Karting as well can be a very tough time for a lot of drivers in their younger racing careers. And I feel like there are so many karting paddocks out there in the UK that don't get that sort of support. So it would be great to see, you know, Racing Pride in these paddocks, and we'd love to have you along. Like myself, I'm in the Motorsport UK British Kart Championships paddock nearly every other weekend commentating. So, you know, it'd be great to see you guys there and getting involved in those sort of paddocks as well. So, yeah, it would be lovely to have you along. But we're vastly running out of time, Richard. But I just wanted to say a huge thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedule for joining us today. Best of luck in Spa coming up in a weekend or two. We do wish you all the best, but thank you very much for taking your time to talk to us.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me on and giving me a chance to talk about these things.
No, thank you. Well, that's all we've got time for this month's episode. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on the Alpha Life podcast. Please do get your comments in and let us know who you want to see next on the Alpha Life podcast, or whether or not you want to be a guest yourself. Let us know in the comments below. And if you are enjoying what you see here, please make sure you do give the podcast a like and share it out to as many people as you possibly can. Again, a huge thank you to our three guests, John Munro, Richard Morris and Jack Dwane, for joining us on this month's episode. A huge thank you for them for taking their time out, and we do hope they enjoyed it as well, and I hope they'll share it out also. But a huge thank you to everyone watching, and it's goodbye for now. We'll see you next month.